Shuai Zhang could stand between Eala and a desert breakthrough. Eala will begin her Indian Wells main draw campaign seeded number 31 and faces either Diana Yastremska or Shuai Zhang in the second round after a first-round bye, a draw that will shape the 20-year-old Filipina's push through the sunshine swing as she heads into Miami with ranking points to defend. Second-round prospect, Shuai Zhang or Yastremska. Eala, who rose to a career-high world number 31 after a quarterfinal run in Dubai, does not play in the first round at the BNP Paribas Open and thus will open directly in the round of 64. The immediate mathematical step is clear. She will meet the winner of Diana Yastremska versus Shuai Zhang, a matchup that could test different facets of her game coming off a powerful showing in the Middle East. Practice court 6 buzz and a growing fan base. On a balmy day at the Indian Wells Tennis Garden, Eala took to practice court 6 for her first training session, sharing court time with Francesca Jones. She held a second session later the same day, with an hour break for lunch between workouts. Fans flocked to the practice courts, holding up selfie sticks and chanting her name as she moved across the players' lawn and entered the players' lounge. Path ahead, potential golf rematch and Miami pressure. Indian Wells presents a layered challenge. A projected third-round meeting with world number 4 Coco Gauff looms after Eala's bye. The American dominated their recent meeting in Dubai, where Gauff used power and athleticism to disrupt Eala's rhythm. Earlier in Dubai, Eala notched a notable victory over Jasmine Paolini in the round of 32 and rode that momentum to the quarterfinals, a run that pushed her to the top 31 milestone. The stakes extend beyond the desert. Eala is defending significant ranking points from last year's semi-final run at the Miami Open. That defense makes Indian Wells more than a warm-up. A strong showing in the California desert would ease immediate ranking pressure before she heads to Miami. For Eala, who is the first Filipina to win a main draw Grand Slam match at last year's US Open and the highest-ranked player in her country's history, the Indian Wells draw offers both reward and challenge. She has already matched last year's total of 3 quarterfinals by reaching 3 quarterfinals in the first 2 months of this season, and the round of 64 at Indian Wells will mark the next concrete test of whether the Dubai breakthrough was the start of a sustained run. Her schedule at Indian Wells is now set, a first-round bye, followed by a second-round match against the Yastremska, Shuai Zhang winner. With the Miami Open approaching on the sunshine swing, Eala's results in the desert will directly influence how much ground she must make up in Florida. Under the pale gold sun and the dry wind that sweeps across the California courts each spring, tennis becomes something slightly different. The ball flies a little faster. The shadows stretch longer. Nerves dry out quickly in the heat. Indian Wells, often called tennis' fifth major, is where rising stars test whether their promise can survive the glare. For Eala, the desert represents possibility. Still young but already carrying the expectations of a tennis-hungry nation, Eala has spent the last few years building momentum piece by piece. Junior titles, steady improvement on the professional tour, flashes of brilliance against seasoned opponents, each step hinting that something larger might be approaching. Indian Wells could be that moment. A desert breakthrough. But between the dream and its realization stands Shuai Zhang. At first glance, Zhang's presence in the draw might not produce the same buzz as a top-5 superstar. She isn't the headline magnet that dominates billboards or social media debates. Yet inside the locker room and across the net, players understand exactly what she represents: experience, resilience, and the quiet danger of someone who has already survived tennis' harshest storms. For Eala, that combination may be the most difficult obstacle of all. The promise of the new. Eala's game carries the restless energy of youth. Her left-handed swing opens angles that stretch opponents across the baseline. Her forehand can crack through a rally with surprising pace, while her court movement reflects the modern style of aggressive defense, sliding, counterpunching, and striking back in a single motion. But talent in tennis rarely unfolds in a straight line. Every young player eventually meets the moment where potential must confront patience. The desert tournament is famous for these crossroads. Young players arrive with momentum from smaller events and suddenly find themselves on massive courts surrounded by thousands of spectators. The air is thinner, the stage larger, and every opponent feels like a gatekeeper. For Eala, Zhang could be exactly that. A gatekeeper to the next level. The survivor. Shuai Zhang's career has been shaped by persistence. There was a time when the tennis world seemed ready to move past her story. Early struggles in Grand Slam main draws piled up. Losses accumulated with painful regularity. For years, she carried an unwanted record, repeated first-round defeats that tested not just her game but her belief. Many players would have faded quietly. Zhang did the opposite. She rebuilt. She worked through the doubts, refined her ground strokes, and trusted that somewhere inside the grind her breakthrough was waiting. When it finally arrived, it felt almost cinematic. Sudden victories, deep runs, and the realization that perseverance had rewritten her narrative. That transformation left a mark on her style. Zhang plays with the calm of someone who understands how fragile momentum can be. Her shots are compact and precise. Her returns bite deep into the court. She doesn't rush points unnecessarily, instead drawing opponents into patterns where patience becomes a weapon. Against inexperienced players, that patience can feel suffocating. Desert chess. Matches in Indian Wells often resemble chess played at full speed. The high bounce favors players who construct points carefully. The dry air rewards those who manage spin and placement rather than simply relying on raw power. It's a tournament where tactical awareness frequently outweighs brute force. That environment might naturally favor Zhang. She knows how to stretch rallies until frustration creeps into an opponent's swing. She knows when to redirect a cross-court exchange down the line. Most importantly, she recognizes the subtle emotional shifts inside a match, the moment when confidence flickers or doubt begins to grow. Young players often feel those shifts intensely. For Eala, the challenge will be resisting that psychological pull. The fearless approach. What makes Eala intriguing, however, is her refusal to shrink from big moments. Throughout her development, she has shown a willingness to attack even when the stakes rise. Instead of retreating behind safe shots, she often steps forward, taking the ball earlier, swinging with conviction, forcing opponents to respond to her initiative. That mindset could be her greatest advantage against Zhang. If Eala allows the match to settle into long, neutral rallies, Zhang's experience may slowly tilt the balance. But if she injects speed and variety, mixing angles, stepping inside the baseline, forcing quick decisions, the dynamic could change dramatically. The desert crowd loves that kind of fearless tennis. And Indian Wells has a long history of embracing emerging stars. Generations collide.